Today, I am proud to announce the Walt Disney Company is acquiring Lucasfilm, the global entertainment company founded by George Lucas and the home of the legendary Star Wars franchise.
Okay.
Great. Fans can expect a new feature film, Star Wars Episode 7, in theaters worldwide in 2015. And there will be more feature films, as well as consumer products, television projects, games, and theme park attractions.
We've, got a plan for 7, 8, and 9, which is the end of the trilogy, and other films also. So we have a large group of ideas and characters and books and all kinds of things. We could go on making Star Wars for the next 100 years. Story treatments of 7, 8, and 9 and a bunch of other movies, and obviously we have hundreds of books and comics and everything you could possibly imagine. So, I sort of moved that treasure trove of stories and various things to Kathy, and I have complete confidence that she's going to take them and make great movies.
We are absolutely going to make Star Wars movies, and we're in the midst of the really fun part of the process, which is we're sitting down with a couple of writers and we're starting to discuss ideas and we're starting to talk about what those stories might be. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be entirely on my own, because it's important that he at least continue to be the little guardian angel on my shoulder, helping me do this.
They're finishing the hologram now. Don't worry.
Yeah. My Yoda has to be there.
I'm doing this so that the films will have a longer life, and so that more fans and people can enjoy them into the future. It's a very big universe I've created, and there's a lot of stories that are sitting in there.
The main thing is to protect these characters, make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them, and that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
I get to be a fan now, which is what I was saying before, and I sort of look forward to it. It's a lot more fun, actually, than actually having to go out in the mud and
you can actually blog about what we're doing and how we're messing things up.
No. I just say, gosh, they're out in the snow and it's cold, and hopefully it'll be an inspiring package of entertainment that it has always been well into the future.
Shortly after acquiring Lucasfilm, the first thing Disney did was decanonize the expanded universe. 30-plus years of books, games, and comics rebranded as legends.
What was so sort of special about what George created with Star Wars was that it was this universe that felt really authentic and sort of lived in and layered, and you believed it.
The movies are so rich and so full of detail, and you know that there's a ton of things that aren't revealed in the movies, but that obviously exist in the lore of Star Wars, in the story of Star Wars. And the EU has been our attempt to take you into areas that aren't explored in the movies and give you much more depth.
I still have my very first Star Wars comic book, which happens to be the very first Star Wars comic book.
My first exposure to the EU was probably one of the Brian Daley books. I think it was Han Solo and the Lost Legacy. It was the one with the glowing crystal skull thing on the cover.
The first EU story that I ever read was Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Near the end, there's this great scene where Princess Leia confronts Darth Vader with a lightsaber, and so that just blew my mind.
My favorite, hands down, is Han Solo at Star's End. It was published in 1979, written by Brian Daley. He's my favorite Star Wars author.
At the time, there's no video games, there's no internet, there's none of that. It's basically comics, novels, and waiting until the next movie comes out.
I got Heir to the Empire the day that it came out, and of course it's got the little band across, special introductory price.
That's the one that started it all. I remember going to the bookstore and seeing it and being like, what is that?
There was this Jedi with, rays coming out of his fingers.
We had to drive 2 hours to go to the nearest bookstore. So we went there the day it came out and bought it right away. I had to wait my turn to read it. We got all the books after that.
George set up a huge canvas for us to work on. He had, with the movies, We had everybody from royalty, princesses, emperors, all the way down to the scum of the earth. We had planets, we had systems, lots of aliens, ways of getting back and forth. The authors and comic writers and gamers just went to town with it.
I always loved a Dark Empire comic book series. There were some great illustrations in it. Just very inspiring stuff for me when I was in junior high and high school.
My favorite story is Shadows of the Empire. I liked the idea of creating some connective tissue between Episode 5 and Return of the Jedi, and it was great because we got to use all of the great Star Wars characters. Darth Vader could be in it, and the Emperor.
My favorite one by far is Courtship of Princess Leia. That was the first book where they introduced Dathomir, the planet, and the Night Sisters. And I was really excited about this concept that there's a whole planet of Force-sensitive females that ride Rancors around during the day.
One of the key books for me that really introduced me to the idea of what the expanded universe could be was this one, published in 1987, the Star Wars Source Book. And it was essentially a 144-page guide to everything you needed to know about Star Wars so you could start telling your own stories set in the galaxy. And it was just mind-blowing. You know, the idea that I could finally find out how an X-Wing fighter works or what these alien creatures in the background of the cantina are like.
A whole lot of people got introduced to my work because they played the Knights of the Old Republic video game. And of course, I was writing Knights of the Old Republic comics. By creating a cohesive whole that everything belongs to, it gives a lot of different points of entry for fans to come in, as Obi-Wan puts it, to take their first step into a larger world.
I was a senior concept artist for Force Unleashed 2. So we got to pour a lot of ourselves into creating these things that were new to the Star Wars universe. As like a lifelong Star Wars fan, that definitely means the most to me.
With Star Wars, we want the world to be real. And it feels real if everything is in line.
And I think that that's the challenge for all of us going forward with Star Wars. How are we responsible with what was, and how do we, you know, still move forward even if things become very different?
We now have a story department so that there truly can be one consistent narrative, and that's always been the dream.
I think the idea of aligning the content is actually a really fantastic and exciting opportunity that no other fictional universe could really even support.
We're going to be able to bring fans a unified vision in a way that we've never done before.
And I think that it's also a sacred trust to be invited to be a part of telling stories inside this universe, because it's so precious to people. And I understand that because it's precious to me.
And the EU is born out of a love for Star Wars. That's what it really is. Carrying on the legacy before it really could do so on its own, like it will now through episode 7, 8, and 9 and all the other films coming out. So there's a bright future for Star Wars, but I think the EU will be a legacy that's mined forever, and that as more people come into it, they've no doubt been touched by it and inspired by it.
I can't get enough of Star Wars. It never got old. Just kind of soaking up everything I possibly can about Star Wars and the universe. There can never be enough of that.
These are my kids. So
all those Star Wars films.
All the Star Wars films.
They were your kids.
Yeah, well, they are. I loved them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
and
sell
you
them
sold
off,
them.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and
Okay, but I mean, but
Dave Filoni's own words, the EU will be a legacy that's mined forever. Take it all, push it to the side, and rip piece by piece out of it to create new stories, instead of just adapting the ones that already exist.
Back in the cantina now with Howard Rothman, who is the EVP of Franchise Management at Lucasfilm.
Yep.
For a very long time, you were the head of licensing.
Yes.
Explain to us a little bit about what that means. I think I understand licensing.
Well, franchise is kind of everything that touches Star Wars. I mean, the beauty of Star Wars is that people experience it in so many different ways. They experience it on the screen, they experience it in TV shows, in merchandise, in our books, and video games, in the theme parks. So it's very important that all that kind of fit together, because everything that we do at Lucasfilm is from the point of view of what is the fan experience. You know, what is it going to be like to live in the world of Star Wars and express your Star Wars fandom.
So it's very much sort of opportunities come up, things whether, like you said, whether it's like the Marvel comics that just started coming out, or a new TV series, or video games, or anything, and you guys kind of look at it and go, "Is this cool? Is this cool?"
That's one of the many steps.
Yeah.
You know, it's everything from what does our style guide look like? What kind of artwork are we putting on our products? How do we translate the new things that are coming in the new film? It's deep, it's complicated, and I have to say it's a lot of fun too.
It's got to be a really, really amazing time to be doing what you do at Lucasfilm, because there's so much amazing new stuff. I mean, obviously, we're looking at Episode 7, we're looking at the trailer that came out today, but there's so many other things on the horizon just in the next year.
Yeah. Well, and you'll hear about a lot of it over the next few days at Celebration. But, I've been doing this for 35 years, so I've seen a lot of different periods that we've been in, and this is the most exciting, but by far.
Yeah, and you've been to every Celebration?
I've been to every domestic one, and I was also in Essen,
and tell me, what is the atmosphere like here, specifically this year, in comparison to celebrations in the past?
I think there's so much anticipation around The Force Awakens. It's kind of galvanized people in a really nice way.
Yeah.
And also, now that we're so far into Star Wars with, 3 generations, you see it here. You see parents with kids. You see people from every walk of life. It's really nice.
And that's got to be fascinating for you as you're sort of evaluating what to put the Star Wars name on, that now you're talking about so many different age brackets.
Yeah.
And what is appropriate for who? How do you decide, okay, this is for everyone, this is Star Wars?
Well, we look at what's of interest to people at different points in their life. There's a point where people like to read novels for adults that tell stories in different ways. There's video games that appeal to like a core gamer that are 18 and older, but there's also video games that younger kids like. And it's important to have something for all the different types of Star Wars fans that we have out there.
We got a ball droid coming? We got one of those ball droids coming, Howard?
There's a lot of fun things that you could do with BB-8, and I promise you, if it's something that can be done that's fun, we're going to do it.
So, since you see everything Star Wars probably before anybody else does, I mean, is it still, when you walk around on this floor, are you still excited just kind of seeing all this stuff all around? Is there anything that surprises you?
It is so inspiring to walk around here, because you see the love that people have for Star Wars, you see how profoundly it's affected their lives, what they're expressing here, everything from the artwork to the costumes that the people wear to just the sense of community here. It says a lot, really says a lot.
When I look around at the floor, one of the things that I think is wonderful about Lucasfilm and about Star Wars is you guys really do embrace the community in terms of there are people here who are making their own R2 units. There are, you have the 501st making their own Stormtrooper armor. And you guys really seem to embrace that, which a lot of companies don't do. How did you guys come into that? Was that just organic, or was that a conscious decision from the beginning?
It was very conscious.
Yeah.
And I think this was something that, George Lucas obviously created Star Wars, and he understood Star Wars fandom very deeply. And he realized that, this is about community, because there is a community of people who share a love for Star Wars and who have kind of experienced it and lived it through all these stages of their lives.
Yeah.
And you don't want to shut that down. This is about expressing love for something that's meaningful to your life, and you don't want to, regulate it in that way. It's not corporate.
Well, that's awesome. I really love that philosophy, and I love everything that you guys are doing.
A few reasons as to why I just showed that interview. A, the questions. B, the way it was conducted. And C, the atmosphere before episode 7. It's very eye-opening to see the way interviewers were over 10 years ago compared to how they are now. He's excited to ask questions and learn more about what is coming in the Star Wars universe, whereas interviewers now are more interested in gotcha moments and pushing agendas.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
Months before release, the hype was real. Star Wars was back, and the opportunities were endless. With people who at the time seemed to care about the franchise, and a major studio backing Lucasfilm, it seemed almost impossible for it to fail. Even though Disney nuked the EU, they could just simply adapt the books one for one and have unlimited ideas that fans already loved and supported over the decades. When The Force Awakens released, it was a major success. Initially, it was received very positively. Personally, I had major issues with how Han Solo died, and Luke was completely absent from the film only to be revealed at the end, alone on an island. The biggest problem here was that there would never be another scene of the original crew altogether. Now, whether it was bad writing or directing, or the simple fact that Harrison Ford hated Star Wars,
I don't care.
Han Solo was gone, never to return again. I also had a problem with Rey. She was able to use Force abilities with zero training. And many people were upset that they teased Finn to be the next Jedi lead, only to be sidelined by Rey. Other than a few things here and there, it turned out to be a $2 billion success on its own. And that's the important part to remember. Everything this movie earned was quickly erased. In this very moment, the sequel trilogy could have led to anything. Fan theories were exploding and everybody was hopping on board. But what came next divided the fan base to levels that no other Star Wars project has.
Theories that have actually been right about anything?
Nothing that's really nailed any of the big stuff, no. But I love reading the fan theories, Having been a Star Wars fan myself and been on the other side of the curtain most of my life, it's pretty cool to be back behind, peeking through, seeing, what are people guessing?
I have a question about, since you're not taking over, but since you're doing The Last Jedi and JJ obviously did The Force Awakens, are you guys building the world of the new trilogy together, or are you jumping off of his story and then the next one he's jumping off of your story?
Well, no. So he's going to do the next episode, so
Right.
we'll do the final chapter of this trilogy, and then I'm just completely separately going to be coming up with a whole new trilogy. So it won't be connected to this at all, and I'm just going to come up with something new and do it.
Now, a lot of your cast has said that they're really surprised with the direction with some of their characters, which they have taken. What are you most surprised about with their reactions to that?
I don't know about surprise. I was just nervous. I was like, oh gosh, I hope they like it. Because they put so much into it. They work so hard on it. They're trusting you to make it and make them look good. And so for me, it was, the most gratifying thing. That was the two things I was nervous about, the cast seeing it and now the fans seeing it. So we're over one hump.
Right. We sadly lost Carrie Fisher, obviously. Question I had for you was, what is your most fond memory from this film that she was part of?
My favorite memory of Carrie is actually before we started shooting, when we were still pre-shoot, and in LA I went to visit her at her home, and we just sat on her bed for like 4 hours in her amazing bedroom that's like a projection of her psyche into interior design, and just, you know, BSing and telling jokes and gossiping and just hanging out with Carrie. She was a one-of-a-kind lady. I feel really lucky I got even the small amount of time I did with her.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what
Can't wait for you to see her play. She's so good in the film, man. She gives such a beautiful performance in it.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I hope, yeah.
The next question I had was, what inspirations did you take for The Last Jedi from other films or other stories?
Yeah. Well, I watch a bunch of movies with kind of like the folks at Lucasfilm. I picked a bunch of films, and 12 O'Clock High, which is one of the great World War II movies with Gregory Peck. There's some direct inspiration from that in the film. But then also we watched some samurai films. We watched some, you know, Bridge on the River Kwai. We watched Gunga Din. We watched a bunch of kind of adventure films. And, you know, Star Wars is like the original Star Wars. It's so ubiquitous now. It's easy to forget how weird the original one was and what a weird genre mashup it was. Western and sci-fi and soap opera. And so it makes sense to draw from a bunch of different seemingly disparate, you know, sources of inspiration for it.
The hype surrounding this movie was even larger than before. It was so massive that Rian Johnson spoke about having his own trilogy in the future. He was speaking as if every movie was going to be a guaranteed success no matter what. And while all of that was happening, on the other hand, Mark Hamill, over and over again in dozens of interviews, pointed out every single thing that was wrong. Not just about the writing of the overall story, but also Luke's character, from dialogue or lack of dialogue to becoming a hermit and even denouncing the Jedi.
You helped me figure something out, because remember, they didn't want me going out on these talk shows when Episode 7 came out, right? I got a phone call, "You're not on the poster." I said, fine, it's just another in a series of humiliations. So, I don't want to be on your poster. You don't want me on the poster? I don't want to be on your poster.
In 7, you discovered Luke obviously is a hermit on this island, that there's so much unsaid about where he's been and what he's done. And actors like to write their own backstories. You know, you want to figure out what you've done and where you've been. But I realized that wasn't really important to the story of Force Awakens. I still made it up myself. And, you know, I tried to show it to JJ, and he, you know, was accommodating, but basically patted me on the head, gave me a cookie, and made me go away. Because, you know, whatever, make it up. I mean, they allude to things that have happened, and to a certain extent, you know, it's not Luke's story anymore. But I think he's an important part of the overall arc of the saga. And again, there's a lot of mystery about him, even within the film. So you have to fill in your own backstory. I'm sure there'll be comic books and video games and novels that tell the story, but
I'm just going to break in here and make sure that everybody out there realizes he is so significantly important to this next film. You have no idea.
Well, that's good to hear.
Do we get to see Luke back in action?
Well, certainly back in a role that affects the overall storyline, because the end of 7 was just sort of a tease for the next installment. But here he has a much more pivotal role. He has lines. So that's already a major difference from Episode 7.
What's the biggest difference from when we last saw Luke in the end of Return of the Jedi to when we meet him now in The Last Jedi?
That's the mystery of the ages. Since it's no longer my story and there's a new protagonist, I had to try and fill in that for myself. It's not important to the story, but it is for the actor to try and figure out, who is this guy? How did the most optimistic, hopeful character in the galaxy turn into this hermit who says it's time for the Jedi to end? I read that and I said, what? I mean, that's not what a Jedi does. I mean, a Jedi is optimistic. A Jedi has tenacity. He never gives up. He doesn't secrete himself on an island, but you'll see. I mean, the wait for 8 is nearly over.
Although I still say a Jedi would never give up. But that's old school. This is the new generation.
I said to Ryan, I said, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. But it's not my story anymore. It's somebody else's story. And Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. That's the crux of my problem. Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars. So I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker, but I had to do what Ryan wanted me to do because it serves the story well. But listen, I still haven't accepted it completely, but it's only a movie. I hope people like it. I hope they don't get upset. And I came to really believe that Ryan was the exact man that they needed for this job.
He sort of became the boy who cried wolf. Tons of interviews and stage moments of Mark Hamill telling everybody about what was going to happen. But the hype overpowered it, and eventually Mark Hamill himself just kinda shut up and started promoting the film.
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
Fans expected Luke to return as the strong, heroic figure they knew from the original trilogy. Instead, we got a disillusioned and bitter old man, a complete 180 of the character we knew. The divide was massive and fans were absolutely pissed. Snoke was built up as a major villain just to be killed instantly. And Rose Tico, that name alone is enough for people, including myself, to never want to sit through this film again. A completely pointless character, a completely pointless subplot. The Canto Bight section just dragged the movie out and was trying to build up Rose Tico for the trilogy. The film tried to push some sort of love interest between her and Finn. The movie and her character were so disliked, she had essentially no part in the 9th film. But we will get to The Rise of Skywalker later. There was also the random Broom Kid part, which I guess was supposed to set something up for a future film, but obviously never came. An extremely anticlimactic ending for Luke, and because Carrie Fisher passed away, her part was also very short, and she didn't really do much of anything in the movie, sadly. And once again, throughout the entire runtime of the film, the original characters were never seen together.
We have a lot of great stuff set up from The Force Awakens that we have to pay off in this movie, so let's start with Snoke. What do you have planned for Snoke? Sure, well, you know how he was this dark, ominous hologram figure? Yeah. Well, in episode 8, we're gonna see him in person, and he's gonna be more of like a disfigured old playboy. He is. Yeah, and he has like a really flashy gold robe on. It looks like what they probably give you if you rent a suite at a Trump hotel. Interesting. Yeah, so overall he looks like if Hugh Hefner fell face first down an elevator shaft and then they did their best. And so do we find out more about him as a character? Oh yeah, definitely. So you know how in the first movie it was like, who is this guy? What's his deal? Yeah. Well, in this movie we confirm that he's like an evil guy. Oh, okay, saving him for a bigger role in episode 9. No, he dies. He does? Yeah, Kylo Ren cuts him in half. Wow, do you think the fans are gonna be disappointed, or what do you mean? Well, I mean, we kind of baited fans for 2 years with questions like, who's Snoke? And now he's dead. Right, that's what makes it so surprising. Oh, true, I didn't think of it that way. Plus it gives more weight to the reveal of Rey's parents. Oh yeah, about that, they are nobody. Oh, really? Yeah, Kylo Ren says he saw it in a vision, so they're dead, they're nobody. Is he telling the truth? Yeah, I don't know, we're just gonna kind of gloss over it. Okay, so what about the other big cliffhanger? What's that? Well, at the end, Rey is handing Luke his lightsaber back. It's like a huge moment. Oh yeah, well he just tosses it over his shoulder like garbage. Oh, yeah, and then he squeezes some boobs and goes fishing. Whose boobs? Just this big alien sea cow with 4 boobs. A big alien sea cow with 4 boobs. Yeah, and then the alien sea cow with 4 boobs looks at Rey like, You seen this?
And the cherry on top, Rian Johnson and the cast made things much worse than the movie itself could. The mainstream media and essentially everybody involved with this film went on a full-out onslaught against the fans. Kelly Marie Tran received a few hateful messages online, and due to this, the entire Star Wars fandom was painted as racist and misogynist. Article after article, actor after actor came out to bash Star Wars fans. People who didn't like the direction of the new trilogy were toxic and labeled everything you can think of. And this, of course, further divided the fan base.
You're after something.
During all the chaos, Solo: A Star Wars Story came out the next year. The film became Star Wars' first major flop. The film lost an estimated $76.9 million at the box office. Fans weren't willing to give Disney another chance, and it showed big time with The Rise of Skywalker.
We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
By the end of the movie, that scene meant absolutely nothing.
Maybe in the DVD extras.
Yeah, that's what we live for. The DVD extras. You know, all the kids these days buying their DVD.
You've seen the movie. Yeah. What was your reaction? What was the face you made when the credits rolled? What was your face?
And then we all sort of sat around a bit stunned. And then I was trying to scurry off into the car to cry.
Are you happy about Rose's arc?
I think that we're all going to be really happy with what this movie does.
I'm assuming you cried because you loved it.
It's very overwhelming to see yourself on screen. And it is very overwhelming.
A great story, because his arc is, over the course of the 3 films, is fascinating. He's had to deal with quite a lot in quite a quick succession.
It's true. I should have just let them kill him off in that first one. Really, I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
I'm ready to see what Rose has in store for us. Have you seen the final?
I would try to push it a bit in that direction, but the Disney overlords were not ready to do that.
I can fly now. What was your first reaction upon seeing that?
They fly now.
He forgot. He forgot.
But what if that was the first time they used them? They're not using them since the Clone Wars.
People went to see The Force Awakens numerous times, and this caused it to generate over $2 billion. The Last Jedi was a movie that people only saw once, and managed to divide the fan base entirely. This movie generated just over $1.3 billion, and by the time The Rise of Skywalker came out, Disney had managed to drive away 50% of its revenue. The simple fact of the matter is, if the movies were good, the trend would have continued upwards. Instead, we got this.
No one for so long. Who are you? I'm Ray.
Not
Ray
you.
who?
Not you. Oh God. No. No.
Please no. Please no. Where's Fett? Where the fuck is Fett?
Ray Skywalker.
Although this movie wasn't as destructive as The Last Jedi, it just simply was a giant piece of trash. The quality lacked from the story to the acting, and you could tell the actors were done with the franchise. They brought back Palpatine, which literally made no sense at all, and JJ tried to fix the issues created by Rian Johnson and of course himself. And when all of this came together, it was just purely awful. To this day, I don't know, and I don't think anyone knows why they thought bringing Palpatine back was a good idea, but here we are.
I'm all the Jedi.
No, you're absolutely not.
You were supposed to be well written, not suck.
Jar Jar fucking Binks had better character development than you.
Yes.
Finn was turned into a hype man for Rey, constantly screaming her name and providing nothing else to the story. The entire trilogy was a disaster, and years later in 2021, J.J. Abrams himself admitted that they actually had no plan at all. Everything George had written and left for Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, Dave Filoni, and many others literally just threw it all aside. And finally, in October of 2025, Disney was forced to announce that The Rise of Skywalker cost them just under $600 million. So it is safe to say The Rise of Skywalker completely underperformed and maybe even lost Disney millions of dollars.
I've been waiting my whole life for this.
You ready?
Are you?
In the same year, Galaxy's Edge opened, an immersive Star Wars section in the theme parks that guests can walk through and feel like they are a part of the Star Wars universe. But once again, Disney severely dropped the ball on this one. They first based the theme park on a separate experience not related to anything fans would recognize. When does it take place? It is set between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, on the planet Batuu, in an outpost briefly mentioned by name in Solo, and in a few novels that Disney created to try and tie it into canon. They based Galaxy's Edge between the most controversial movie and the laziest movie, and over the years Disney has done very little to improve on it. And Star Wars is doing so poorly, they are actively removing attractions. Galaxy's Edge would also become a part of a massive billion-dollar flop. At the time, the sequel trilogy was still the main target for Disney, selling the merch, the world, characters, everything, and I mean literally everything, was sequel-based. And of course, the Galactic Starcruiser fell victim to this. The Galactic Starcruiser was a high-expense hotel or trip or excursion, whatever you wanted to label it. And from the moment it was announced, it became a massive disaster.
Hello there.
I'm super excited to see what you and your team created.
We cannot wait to have you aboard because Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser is a first-of-its-kind vacation experience where you get to spend 2 days and 2 nights living out your very own Star Wars story.
Oh, I'm just too excited. We gotta go and punch it.
So we've really focused on making sure we have some of the best entertainment in the galaxy on board. One of which I'm so excited about is this pop star who is known throughout the galaxy for all...
What's going on? I just popped through that door and I have no idea.
Look above and see the world slowly emerge before your eyes. Feel the swell as the moon begins to rise above the tide. All around, change is coming, something new is in the air.
I apologize for having to show you that. The production value was extremely cheap considering what you were paying, and the attractions/activities inside the interactive hotel were poorly thought out and boring.
Captain, where is she?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You talk, or they scream.
The Galactic Starcruiser was such a flop that Jenny Nicholson, a YouTuber, made a 4-hour video exposing it.
Disney has always had high prices, but they also have a reputation for quality. This was more than they've ever charged for an experience before, so the logic followed that this would be the greatest experience they've ever offered. Around the time it opened, the #1 question I saw everyone ask about the Galactic Starcruiser was, is it worth it? And after my own trip, I watched a lot of other people's reviews, and I saw that most of them, especially the ones who went for free, seemed to just say, if you have the money, it's worth it. And that answer is so unhelpful and, in my opinion, willfully obtuse. Things have value. Something either costs a fair amount or it doesn't. Like, I'm willing to bet that a lot of middle-class families technically have access to $6,000 in savings or in assets, but they don't want to waste that money. If they spend it, they want to know that they couldn't have had a better value or a better experience doing something else with it instead. Like, okay, I love Taco Bell nachos. I love them so much. At time of filming, those cost a little under $3. If someone asked me if they were worth it, I would say yes. Certainly. If tomorrow they suddenly cost $20, I would immediately be able to say, oh, no, they're not worth that. I wouldn't say, well, I really like them, so I suppose if you can afford it, they're worth it. I would say, no, they're worth around $3, maybe up to $5 if I was desperate. Do not spend $20 on those, unless you're watching this in the future, and because of inflation, Taco Bell nachos are now that price. Hello, traveler. I'm so happy you still have Taco Bell. So anyway, I think it's really interesting that a lot of people magically lost their ability to conceptualize value as soon as they were gifted an expensive trip by a big company. Listen, I know you have to play nice if you want to stay on the PR list, but if you're not using that access to give an honest review, then what's the point of being there at all? What good are you to anybody? Have you no sense of integrity? No self-respect? So, was it worth it? I've been to many theme parks, many themed experiences, paid for many, specifically, Disney theme park themed experiences. I've been a repeat customer because a lot of the time I do think it's worth what they're charging. And I've come to understand that with Disney, you can always expect to pay inflated prices compared to what you would pay another vendor for a similar product. I can pick something up in a Disney gift shop and usually guess within $1 what overpriced amount they're charging for it. What I'm saying is I understand the Disney price scale, I know the value of specifically Disney experiences. And you better believe I've seen a lot of defenders of the Starcruiser trying to justify the price, some of whom went for free, had friends who helped build it, or literally worked there.
While I may have some personal involvement with the Starcruiser, I feel I have a responsibility to my amazing followers and this TikTok community to quickly break down what's included so you can come to your own conclusion if it's actually worth the price tag.
So anyway, they always try to do an itemized cost breakdown, inflating the value of each item in the column as they go, like comparing the cost of the room to the price of Disney's most luxurious hotels, even though the Starcruiser rooms aren't nearly as nice.
And a theme park view, because you're getting views of the galaxy and going into hyperspace. So when you do that, and an average of $1,250 per night, that would be a total of $2,500 for both nights on the Halcyon.
Forgetting that hotels charge per night, not per person. Pretending that the character story moments have the same monetary value as 22 hours of consecutive Broadway shows.
The Galactic Starcruiser is a literal 2-day Broadway show that you become a part of.
Doing the math, because a typical theatrical show is around 2 hours, that's $1,650 you're paying for the live entertainment.
Which, no matter how talented the performers are, is simply not the case. Pretending that your car getting valet parked once is a $200 value, even though most guests arrive by taxi anyway. And then after all this, when they still fail to match the lowest possible quoted price for a Starcruiser trip, they'll just add something at the end like, also it's unique, which is worth the rest of the dollars. For the record, I consider all of this an exercise in futility. The entire point of flat rate bundled experiences like cruises or all-inclusive resorts is that by paying for everything as a lump sum, you're meant to be getting some kind of deal. The company is also getting a deal in the sense that they know none of your trip money is going to competitors and it's all going directly to them, which is why bundles like this are so common. I also think it's ridiculous that these cost breakdowns itemize so many of the amenities. You can't say a hotel room is worth $600 a night and then also itemize the cost of the customer service, the valet parking, and the snacks in the lobby, because at any good $600 a night hotel, that stuff would be included anyway. So, I promise you, I'm keeping everything in mind for my value estimate. I'm keeping in mind that the room, while tiny, is unique. I'm keeping in mind that there are interactive performers on board, that the food was yummy, that there were mini games, that we got a couple hours in the theme park, that Disney prices are inflated. I'm factoring it all in. And let me be frank, in my opinion, the experience I had was worth approximately $800 total per adult. $1,000 maximum, and kids should cost less. But during Starcruiser's entire existence, depending on whether you went in summer or winter, and depending on how many people you felt like cramming into that tiny room, you could expect to pay anywhere from 2 times to 4 times that amount. And that's just not worth it for what it was. If they had offered a hefty discount or extended the duration of the experience, I might feel differently, but they didn't, so I don't. Also, obviously, if the Starcruiser was a cheaper experience, it wouldn't have mattered so much that the gameplay element was so unreliable. You would think of the cost as covering the underwhelming room, the nice food, and the access to the theme park rides, and the gameplay would just feel like a bonus. So you'd feel a lot more comfortable sitting it out if it wasn't your speed, and less disappointed if you tried to participate and it didn't work properly. So no, I would never say it's worth it if you can afford it.
After 18 months, the Starcruiser closed permanently. Per night, it was reported it would cost anywhere from $2,400, $4,800, and in some cases for the luxury class suites, $10,000 to $20,000. Specialty drinks and items were also not included, adding to the total cost. And the rooms were abysmal.
Some outlets here. We got a switch for the mirror. I love that they have quick look all around the room.
You were paying thousands of dollars a night to stay in that. During your stay at the Galactic Starcruiser, you would eventually go on an excursion to Galaxy's Edge, and they would shuttle you back and forth in this box truck. Now, obviously, the truck would pull up to some sort of door, and all you would see is that door specifically to get into the back of the truck. But the idea that you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars to be shuttled around in the back of a refrigerator truck, it's quite hilarious. While all of this was taking place, instead of releasing movies, Disney officially switched to television. And in the late months of 2019, Disney would release a show that started with such a huge burst of success, known as The Mandalorian. Star Wars was officially back. This is a phrase we hear time and time again with this franchise, along with many others. But in this case, very briefly, it was. People were excited and ready to explore the world with a new character. Loads of people, including myself, enjoyed the first season, and it was so unexpectedly successful that Disney had nothing prepared in terms of merchandise to sell. The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 drove in tons of viewership and revenue. Din Djarin and Baby Yoda became staple figures for Disney Star Wars, and the ending of Season 2 reopened the doors for so many possibilities. As The Mandalorian was taking off, the gears were turning for other TV shows and projects to be made. The first to drop outside of The Mandalorian was the Book of Boba Fett.
I am not a bounty hunter. I've heard otherwise. Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
Once again, Disney would bring another character back from the dead and loop them into a terrible story. In my honest opinion, Boba Fett should have remained dead, and this show should have never been created. And it was moments like this that showed Disney was running out of ideas. The show was incredibly cheap looking, the story was stale and boring, and the Vespa biker gang were roasted throughout the entire run of the show. And in the middle of Boba's own TV show, it turned into The Mandalorian season 2.5 or 3. Not only did Tamara Morrison reveal that he was supposed to be in The Mandalorian season 3, which we'll get to eventually, but he also took issue with Din Djarin showing up in the book of Boba Fett and taking over the series. He went on to claim, well, that Mando guy stole a few chapters of my book, and it was painful watching him turn up with some black new lethal sword, which he ends up giving away. He then went on to say, I'm sure this guy is ruining my show, but I couldn't say anything. I'm not the writer. And honestly, it might have been for the better that he wasn't in The Mandalorian Season 3, because it was an absolute failure. But let's head back to the book of Boba Fett. They brought Cad Bane in for a quick cameo just to be killed off in one of the most anticlimactic fights I've ever seen. And worst of all, after Luke saved the crew and took Grogu to be trained.
A Jedi.
Are you a Jedi?
I am.
I have to admit, Luke Skywalker is pretty terrifying. And watching this scene back now, knowing that it leads to absolutely nothing, on top of the fact this would have led to the sequel trilogy anyway, it was a small glimmer of hope that realistically was going to head nowhere. The book of Boba Fett would focus briefly on Luke training Grogu, for Grogu to eventually choose to be a Mandalorian over a Jedi, and become like his air quotations father, Din Djarin. This entire moment was shoved into a terribly written show and passed off as a Boba Fett story. And the sad fact of the reality is people claimed these were the best moments of the entire season, which didn't even include Boba Fett himself. Shortly after the book of Boba Fett, Disney would create something that would briefly generate a lot of hype until it was released. And what came next did damage to not just the original trilogy, but the prequels as well.
The key to hunting Jedi is patience.
It first started with the Grand Inquisitor and the way he looked, but then very quickly it spiraled into a lot more. We were back on Tatooine once again, and myself and many others were slowly turning into Anakin. We were tired of the sand, but that was the least of our worries. Character destruction at its finest came with this show, along with multiple lore-breaking moments. Obi-Wan and Vader meeting multiple times, no Qui-Gon Jinn until the very, very end, literally the last minute of the final episode. On top of all of that, it didn't feel like the Obi-Wan show, it felt like the Reva show.
Let's recap our main character, Reva. After being stabbed by Darth Vader during Order 66, young Reva was left for dead but somehow survived. After that, she somehow figured out that Anakin was Darth Vader and somehow figured out how to train herself in the Force. Then she joined the Inquisitors and killed men, women, and children, only to get close to Darth Vader so she could get revenge for him killing children. I'm guessing some time passes because they don't really tell us, and somehow Reva figures out a connection between Bail Organa and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I found a link between him and Organa in the archives. I used the girl as bait.
And you did this without informing me?
You left me no choice.
She thinks she will get favor by capturing Kenobi.
Then she devises her master plan to fail at kidnapping a girl she couldn't possibly know about twice, Princess Leia. She also manages to kill the Grand Inquisitor, all to draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi so she could pick the worst opportunity ever to get close to Darth Vader to kill him and completely fail. This brings us to the endgame of Reva's master plan when she masterfully allows herself to be defeated by Darth Vader, run through once again, and left for dead once again. so she could randomly find the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker to go kill him. Again, killing men, women, and children to avenge all the men, women, and children that Darth Vader killed. Oh, and Kenobi's in this too, along with Darth Vader, played by 4 people and voiced by an AI James Earl Jones.
He's more machine now than man.
It truly felt like they just wanted to make a Reva show, but they knew that nobody would watch it based on that name alone. So instead, they used pure nostalgia bait at its finest to promote the show. Was it great to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back? Yes, but not in this way. Kenobi was reduced to a sad old man chasing Princess Leia across the galaxy. The scenes were cheesy, the dialogue was extremely questionable.
You're 10 years old. But you won't always be.
And it was clear they brought them back because people loved their characters, and this was a guaranteed viewership jackpot, at least for the first few episodes. I knew people at the time who stopped watching Star Wars altogether solely because of this show. It was truly the final straw for most people, and the overall direction of the story was atrocious. This show would manage to follow suit with The Last Jedi in 2 ways. Once again, whatever was left of the fan base would be fractured down the middle, causing an even larger divide. And once again, a very small number of people would go after the actress Moses Ingram. Much like Kelly Marie Tran, she received a few messages online that were hateful, and it caused a massive outrage. The media, just like before, blew everything completely out of proportion, and they deemed all Star Wars fans as hateful racists. It was a complete repeat of what happened after The Last Jedi.
This weekend, Star Wars fans made Obi-Wan Kenobi the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere of all time. And for that, I would say a big thank you. And it just goes to show what this family can do when we all pull together. However, it seems that some of the fan base from this influential fan base have decided to attack Moses Ingram online and send her the most horrendous racist DMs. And I heard some of them this morning and it just broke my heart. Moses is a brilliant actor. She's a brilliant woman. And she's absolutely amazing in this series. She brings so much to the series. She brings so much to the franchise. And it just sickened me to my stomach to hear that this had been happening. I just want to say, as the leading actor in the series, as the executive producer on the series, that we stand with Moses. We love Moses. And if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. There's no place for racism in this world. And I totally stand with Moses.
Instead of Disney and Lucasfilm executives taking accountability for making a trash show, they blamed the fans, and they labeled them as the problem.
The Kenobi show, is a show that we had been waiting for, arguably, you know what? Screw arguably. It was the most important show that Star Wars could ever have released after George sold it to Disney. We got Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. We got Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as Luke Skywalker and Leia. Literally the main characters of Star Wars, the most important part, time, everything. And what kind of a budget does it get? It gets not even less than Andor, which I think had like 130 million or 110 million or maybe even more than that. What was the budget for Andor? Hold on here before I even get ahead of myself. But I digress. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the most important Star Wars project since Disney purchased Lucasfilm from George Lucas in 2012. And it gets the lowest budget of any Star Wars show to date. She-Hulk gets a better budget than Obi-Wan? Freaking She-Hulk. I mean, what the hell, man? Like, who is making these decisions up there? I'm sorry to make this kind of video, dude, but honestly, like, who is making those decisions up there? You wonder why Star Wars is in such a state where no one is interested anymore. Nobody gives a crap. It's because of shit like this. And you know what? The budget wasn't even the biggest problem of the show. You have fan films. You have fan fictions that have like no budget, that have like the budget of an internet connection and a computer, that honestly garner more attention and love than the garbage writing and directing that flew into the Kenobi show. You have the most important characters in Star Wars. Not only that, You're bringing back Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. Forget Jimmy Smits, everybody else. You're bringing back the GOATs, okay? The original, well, the prequel trilogy. That was the original, the OGs, man. The OGs from the prequels, okay? And you not only, give a crap script, you get people that don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to writing the stories and the characters that George built and created. You regress them. You focus on Reva. You make chasing Leia literally like the most impossible thing to find a 9-year-old or 10-year-old. And above all, you have open-handed combat from a civilian against stormtroopers. I mean, look, stormtroopers suck, but they don't get disoriented like that from, a slap on the head. Okay, but then you also managed to give literally the worst script of all time, the lowest budget of all time. I don't get it. I'm trying to understand this. I'm really trying to. Who's making these decisions, dude? Let's give this script the crappiest script of all time. Let's regress the characters, and then let's give them the lowest budget. Of the most important story in Star Wars, the most important characters in Star Wars, but let's just literally give them the bare minimum, but focus all of our attention in Andor, which, yes, Andor is a great show for everyone who attended film school and wants to eat their cheese with a French hat so they can twiddle their mustache at the same time and talk about the Renaissance era and how great things were back then while they sip on their wine from 1922. Okay, don't get me wrong. I liked Andor. I liked it. It was a good show. It was fine. It was cozy. It was also extremely boring and made me fall asleep a million times while I was watching it.
Bricks, screws, and space AKs. On a serious note though, after Kenobi, audiences were checked out. And from what I remember when it comes to Andor, it looked the best, it sounded the best. You can actually see where the money went. The sets are very well crafted, and the acting is much better than shows like Boba Fett and Kenobi. Low bar, I know. My biggest problem with Andor, the characters aren't overly likable, and I thought Cassian Andor was fine in Rogue One, but I never sat there wanting more of that character, and to give him his own TV show that also turned out to be one of the most expensive TV shows seemed kinda crazy. At the end of the day, I just wish that same craft and care went into a more important character. Regardless of that, I would highly recommend the Gorman Massacre arc in Season 2.
Ahsoka Tano, mystical Jedi warrior, trained to be a child soldier by the Master of Evil. She must learn to walk her own path while maintaining order in the galaxy. Ahsoka, a Jedi who fights against the forces of darkness using her twin lightsabers and incredible never-before-seen abilities. Water breathing, whale song, and quick change. Joined by a ragtag band of friends, they journey into the unknown. Sabine, Mandalorian warrior, explosives expert, hopeless Jedi, street artist. Hera, a pilot with the heart of a pilot, who is always dressed to pilot. And Huyang, Ahsoka's faithful servant, a 25,000-year-old robot that possesses more knowledge and experience than any other living being in the entire galaxy. Possibly the most valuable relic in all of existence. He is now responsible for ship maintenance. With the threat of a new Star War looming over them, they wrestle against the intangible genius of Grand Admiral Thrawn and his supernatural minions. It's a race to save one of the Last Jedis, as one of the Last Jedis is hunted by the last remnants of the Jedis. They must learn to put aside their differences, reconcile with their pasts, and risk it all to find a long-lost ally who may or may not be able to help them. But hope always remains. in Ahsoka.
The 80s trailer actually makes that show look better than it is. Ahsoka and The Mandalorian Season 3 roughly came out around the same time, so I'm just gonna bunch the two together. And they were both equally forgettable. Ahsoka once again relied on nostalgia bait, bringing Hayden Christensen back. The show sets the tone off by stabbing Sabine with a lightsaber, and her surviving it and recovering in the next episode.
No, it's tough to see the good ones go, but, it's difficult, but it's the circle of life.
Based on track record, she might survive?
Obi-Wan, look where it got her. That's 4 vital organs, including a gallbladder. I wish there was a way, but there's no coming back from that. Yeah, trust me.
This isn't just about finding Ezra. It's about preventing another.
Are you sick?
I tried to cushion it for you.
This is beyond the pale.
I know.
Cowpole and a plaster. Is that all it takes now?
Now, quiet, don't blow a gasket.
Blown a gasket? She's blown a gasket and she's still alive.
No, she's blown a gallbladder.
No, it was all her vital organs.
Following suit, much like Kenobi, lightsaber wounds mean nothing now. On top of that, the fight choreography was slow, sluggish, and not very good. And when Hayden Christensen did make an appearance, he outclassed literally everyone. The acting was absolutely atrocious, and I guess Sabine can use the Force now. And Thrawn constantly failed upwards. Disney turned, once again, a competent leader into an absolute fool. And just as quickly as Ahsoka came, it went. The most memorable moment of the show was Ahsoka dying for, I guess, the 3rd time, to then have Anakin appear to teach her a lesson that she probably should have already learned over the 7 seasons of the Clone Wars TV show, and however many seasons Rebels went on for. It's Dave Filoni's storytelling at its finest, and it's not good. Speaking of not good, The Mandalorian Season 3. Based on what happened in the book of Boba Fett, people were fed up and quite frankly done with the storyline, and the 3rd season fell off an absolute cliff. The ratings drop off was so massive it currently sits at 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is lower than Ahsoka, which was already bad enough. The entire season meant literally nothing. Din Djarin just randomly gives Bo-Katan the Darksaber at the end of the season, and a lot of the episode-to-episode storylines felt like side quests in a video game opposed to something that was actually building into a larger narrative. We had a ton of cheesy Grogu training scenes with the Mandalorians, and for some reason they just keep bringing Moff Gideon back as the main villain, along with the entire cloning facility, was absolutely ridiculous.
That's not Gideon. Those are his clones.
And the moment that everybody remembers was, of course, the Jack Black and Lizzo scene. I actually have no fucking idea what Favreau was thinking.
Lizzo and Jack Black got involved because, honestly, one of the things that we really like about working on the show is we like to bring in people who are fans themselves. And Lizzo and Jack Black both were very active on social media. And we didn't know, I know Jack from way back, but he was posting him doing Mandalorian things on either it was Instagram or TikTok, I don't know. And Lizzo was dressing up like Grogu, and my kids were showing me all these videos of how into it Lizzo was. And so as we were figuring out, we had an episode that was going to have this really eccentric royal couple in a court, like something that felt like something out of Alice in Wonderland. And we reached out, and they were like, we'd love to. And there's something really fun about being on the set with people who are excited to meet, Grogu.
Fans at this point didn't want a season 4, and we most likely won't get one, as the Mando and Grogu movie is set to release soon. And depending on how that does, that really dictates a lot, doesn't it? Now, after everything we've covered, Star Wars was pretty much dead at this point. Even their most popular show that drove in tons of viewership managed to fall off completely. But then 2024 came around, and these next 2 projects would simply put the final nails in the coffin.
I want to ask you both, because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you
Not
bracing
the gayest
yourself?
Star Wars. Not the.
It's pretty gay, let's be honest. Leslie, how do you feel?
Am I gay? Yes.
Well, no, I know
Yeah.
you are gay, but I'm asking, are you excited about putting this, this is going to be a talking point?
Is it going to be a talking point?
I'm sure some.
Because nerds are gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But
Yeah.
in my world, nerds are gay. I think that Star Wars is so gay already.
Okay.
I mean, have you seen the fits? We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think. But this is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Oh,
Ooh.
interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ask Filoni. Okay.
Ask Filoni.
This will go down in history as a prime example of what not to do with a TV show. And you can apply this to literally every franchise going forward, or anything that you create going forward. Leslie Headland, Dave Filoni, and numerous others came together to create what is known as the lowest rated and worst piece of Star Wars media ever created.
Power of many. The power of many.
I'll charge our thanks and apology. The power of losing money. How many seasons did this show get? One too many. The cringe is strong with this one. Someone was paid to write this. The power of utensils. I'm sitting in my car alone at night, completely embarrassed. I am sorry, Jar Jar, please come back.
Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people. Anakin blowing up the Death Star.
I mean, the best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil. It depends on what side you're standing on, truly. You know what I mean?
This is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable.
I can see why nobody likes this show.
Told me that it's the gayest Star Wars, and I frankly...
You're offended?
Into it. No.
We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what...
You're telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what... That's what I think. But this is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Is this a lesbian?
Jody, can you tell us about your character? So my character, you know, she's a powerful leader. She's a powerful leader. Yes, yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like
I love how there's one girl cheering, because probably at a real life in-person Star Wars event, that's like one of the only girls that's there. Every other person is a fucking guy.
It's very like patriarchal, so it was cool to have like this sort of
see,
woman-centered.
See, look.
And you know, she's really
What did you
going
expect?
through a struggle, because I mean that's Star Wars, right? Like we're going through a struggle.
We have to go back.
Hayden's character is obviously the one that's really going through the change, and mine is much more just reactive to that. Padme's a politician. She's been a leader of many people.
Naboo's system has been invaded by the droid army.
This is sort of combining being a woman with being a politician. I think the role is really sort of what the true meaning of feminism in my sort of interpretation of it.
Look, whatever happens out there, follow my lead. I'm not interested in getting into a war here.
She stays true to her compassion and her belief in democracy and humanity.
I'm gonna be real. Like I didn't realize it was this bad.
Leslie Headland, Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, is revealing a little bit about how exactly all of this went down. The Acolyte showrunner reveals Dave Filoni's involvement in making the series. And yes, despite Dave Filoni just recently getting that official title of Chief Creative Officer or whatever it is for Lucasfilm, this is something that he's been doing for years. Going back years all the way to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. A lot of people didn't want to buy it. They didn't want to believe it because they were still pushing this bullshit reporting that was never true about Dave Filoni and Favreau. They're really working against Kathleen Kennedy. No, Dave Filoni was also very crucial. Deborah Chow sang his praises about how often she'd go to him for advice while making the dog shit Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Well, he's helped out a lot with the Acolyte too, apparently. Leslie Headland says Dave Filoni was a mentor in making The Acolyte, and that he guided her to include witches that weren't the Night Sisters. Here's the quote. Dave Filoni very quickly became the kind of mentor of mine in terms of navigating what this part of the timeline would be like for both the Jedi and other Force users. It was kind of this aha moment for me when he told me, not all witches are Night Sisters.
There was no care for the universe, it was simply there to drive an agenda, and this time it was more blatant than ever before. Within episodes, it became a complete dumpster fire. Every single aspect of this show was worse than everything that had come before. The acting, the writing, the creative decisions, the overall storyline, or lack thereof a storyline. We were told this show would deliver fights equal to or better than the prequel trilogy, and it was so far from that.
The whole thing was just like a therapy session, essentially, for Leslie Headland. I mean, this is atrocious. How is this writing and directing allowed $180 million? Twice the budget of the Kenobi show. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Acolyte.
I don't want to do the Ascension. Witches who have the abilities we do. Even your sister.
What the fuck? What the hell? What the fuck? What the fuck? Who wrote this shit?
But like, especially when they do this.
If you want your Padawan returned to his right mind, I suggest you all leave.
I mean, she's just shown that she's an obvious threat taking over the mind of this Padawan. And they're sitting there trying to make themselves the victim. It's wild.
Bed now.
Bed now.
There are only 4 Jedi. Who would miss them?
There are only 4 Jedi. Who would miss them? Was that an actual line? Where the fuck was she this whole time? Oh my god, man. The power of many's been around for a while, I guess. Oh, fuck, man. This show is just so boring. It is just insane. What is she lighting a fire to? The book? It's stone.
Oh no.
It's... The fucking... The structure is stone. Doesn't make any sense. They're inside of a mountain, aren't they? Like the entire structure is carved out of a mountain. It wouldn't go up in flames like that. You're telling me May killed the entire... How did that blow up? From the fire in the room? They're in a fucking cave. They're in a literal mountain and the rocks are catching fire. They're all dead! They're all dead from the fire! This is supposed to be sad, but it's actually just incredibly comedic. The entire place blew up from that small fire. There's zero logic to any of that. The stone caught fire like wood and blew up a massive generator, destroying everything and killing all the witches. Now, because this show became the lowest rated piece of Star Wars media ever created, once again, the mainstream media, actors, and executives would go after the fans. It was very typical at this point for Lucasfilm and Disney to go after the fans instead of taking accountability for their own disaster. But this time, everybody was on board. Everybody was roasting this thing, and the damage had already been done. And any attempt to trash the fans backfired tenfold. This was the third time Disney and actors had attempted to do this, and it simply wasn't going to fly this time.
Yes, yes.
Truly in life, you reap what you sow, and if what you sow happens to be a $180 million vanity project made by a feminist activist promoted way beyond her abilities, with practically no experience, only a vague understanding of the subject matter, and even less talent for actual storytelling, starring a blank-faced charisma vacuum with all the acting talent of a comatose Steven Seagal, and incorporating some of the most cringe-inducing scenes ever committed to film, then well, what you reap will be a big ol' dose of cancellation, my friends.
And no, I'm not going to get into the ad campaign where people attempted to revive the show and give it a second season. Now, very quickly before we get into the last major disaster, Skeleton Crew is a pretty harmless Star Wars adventure that I constantly heard people call The Goonies in space. I honestly had no interest in watching this show, but overall I hear it's just simply a fine mid-tier show. And like most of the Star Wars television shows before, it was quickly forgotten about. It simply didn't make enough of an impact to change the course of where Star Wars currently is. And now with all of that out of the way, we can move on from the trash era of television into a completely new pile of trash. Star Wars Outlaws, a massive $300 million flop. This game was a major financial disaster for Ubisoft and had extremely low sales. This game single-handedly tanked Ubisoft's stock and the overall reputation of the company, which was already in the drain as it is.
We're going too slow. Go get him, buddy.
Report for debriefing. Huh? No.
Nothing there. Nothing here.
Oh. What? What? What?
تنادي لبابا جي بابا جي لإكس بوكس سيرس إكس
Whoa.
Are you still not finished? What? Is this really as quickly as you can go? In case you hadn't noticed, I'm still waiting. If this isn't done soon, I will be sending you back from where you came.
Huh? 좋다, 애자. Sevraggio. Go get him, buddy.
What was that? Back to it.
Now about the shipment.
Here, it's easier to show you. Come inside.
Take him down, Nix.
Check out the laser cannons. That's a LC-50.
Nothing.
Nothing to report.
People ended up getting the game early or are able to play it early, whatever the case is. I guess if you bought the most expensive edition, you get to play the game a few days earlier. And honestly, seeing more clips of this game come out, I feel bad for the people that are playing and buying this game because holy shit, what a piece of actual trash. Holy shit, man. The dialogue is bad, the cutscenes are not very good. The characters look soulless.
But he told me you could mod my speeder?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I've got every part you could want. I mean, mag fins, aftermarket sensors, booster coils.
How about a hydro-repulsor?
Oh. No.
You just...
You're paying AAA prices for this. for this right here. This soulless, boring, it's just garbage. It really is. And they expect you to pay a minimum $80 for this game. I feel like I'm looking at two robots talk. I feel like I'm watching two soulless beings have a conversation. A conversation that it feels like they barely even want to have.
How about a hydropulsar?
Oh.
It's fucking insane to me that people are buying this game at AAA prices. This clip here is probably one of my favorites. By the way, this guy does claim he is enjoying the game even with these kind of game-breaking bugs. We go back to Mr. Matty Plays. He brought up that constantly forced and frustrating stealth segments. Apparently this game has quite a few of them, and if you fail the stealth segment, well, you failed the mission. I don't quite understand how you were supposed to complete the stealth segments when the AI does this. There's like fucking 8 guys just camping inside of the One Pike Syndicate. Holy fuck, man. And yeah, look, you fail the mission, you get caught, but I don't understand how you're supposed to be able to complete this segment here when the AI is all spawning inside of one another. This is a game that they are releasing at full price, and the most expensive edition is like $150. Holy shit, man. You guys couldn't even spend a couple days to play through the game a few times, to get multiple people to play through your game, to, I don't know, make sure it didn't have a bunch of game fucking breaking bugs like this, or this one right here. Like, what the actual fuck was that? This clip is also just very telling of how great the AI is in this game. She's standing right there, and the AI is not registering her as an asset in the game. Matter of fact, this scout trooper isn't even doing anything. The game was littered with bugs and completely broken, to the point where they removed all stealth segments. They couldn't fix it, so they just removed it.
Deflectors? Are you serious?
Asara, keep trying.
Ugh. Not a space mission. No. Anything but...
A distress beacon.
Calling in some favors.
Oh, God.
I hope.
It's gonna be the rebels. No. Press some more buttons, quick. What's going on?
Daniel, did you get out?
You could say that.
Oh, the rebels! Guys, the rebels are here.
Not bad.
But not enough.
What now?
Press more buttons.
The distress beacon.
The rebels.
You missed me. Right. If you say so.
Jabba and his little fucking fat guy ship running around. I am here, Kay. I could never lose you, Kay. You... Yeah. What? You'll never guess who did that. In the space battle. Fucking Jabba. I'm picturing like Jabba's palace, but a spaceship. He's flying around. He's got like a Rancor and an X-wing. Like, I'm gonna save you, Kate. As if Jabba the Hutt would give a fuck about you? What?
If The Acolyte was the perfect outline of what not to do with a television show, Star Wars Outlaws was the perfect outline of what not to do with a video game. And they both came out in the same year. Ubisoft is on the brink of collapse right now because of this game and obviously a few others. And the overall destruction of Star Wars did not help this game as well. From day one, this game was doomed, and with the AAA to quadruple A price point or whatever they wanted to push, you weren't doing anybody any favors. Well, it's been one hell of a journey going over this entire nightmare known as Disney Star Wars. And I know realistically, I probably just scratched the surface on some of these topics, and I probably could have gone into more detail on some of the shows. But at the end of the day, I went over everything I knew, and I gave it the good old college try, as they say. And I'm sure there are other channels out there who have and will do a much better job than I did. From 2015 to now, Star Wars went from being one of the biggest franchises of all time to a category on a streaming website, and that truly is a major Disney disaster.